Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabados of Delmar, and together with my co-host, Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service and jbiztechvalley.com, we have two very, very special women guest stars with us today. Jessica Schoenle, she's the head manager of the pharmacy in Slingerland of the Price Chopper, so welcome, Jessica.
Thank you.
And we have Krista Valentine. She's the dietitian. I think maybe she's here to help you lose some weight, but I don't know, maybe she's here to tell us all about how to keep a good diet, and I'm sure everybody needs to know about that.
Also with Price Chopper.
Also
Yes.
with Price Chopper, two Price Choppers.
That's right. So we're going to pray. Okay. So first of all, Jessica, how did you get in? Why did you want to go to pharmacy school, and why did you want to be a pharmacist?
Well, both my parents are actually physicians, so I kind of grew up with medical background, and just, dinner conversation was always something medical or something healthcare related. So I liked the healthcare field, and I was a math science person anyway. And pharmacy just seemed like such a growing field, and it was intriguing, and it was really chemistry based. I really enjoyed the chemistry of it. But it was patient care in a different way. It was patient care that I could do in the community, and I could see a lot of patients, I could see a lot of people, and a lot of people don't really have access to healthcare beyond a pharmacist. So it's nice to feel like you're kind of somebody's first, interaction with a healthcare professional.
One of my first jobs in Albany was working at a pharmacy on Larkin, Washington, as Branch Drugs, and it was a staple on that corner for many years. And I spent 2.5 years as a clerk working in the pharmacy, so I have a lot of empathy for what you do, and you do a great job, and that's terrific. And Krista, if you could just pull your mic up, it came down, but I'd like to ask you what got you into being a dietitian and being health conscious and all that.
Absolutely. Just from, growing up, and kind of also a strong interest in the sciences and healthcare and caring for people. So, I think that food is a great way to really help somebody reach goals. If it's someone who's struggling with weight, if it's someone struggling with diabetes, if it's somebody struggling with a food allergy, and food is just so impactful to our health that I wanted to be an advocate for that. And I also had a family member who had some issues with food, had an eating disorder, and ended up being unable to be adequately treated in a hospital facility, ended up with a complication because she wasn't receiving adequate nutrition, and ended up in a long-term care facility.
How does people come to you? The pharmacist, the physician gives them the drug, or, you had a cold, what should I take? Come on, I got a bad cold. But how do you, as a Price Chopper employee, who comes to you, for example? What would be the connection? Hey, I want to see a dietitian, or at the pharmacy? I don't know. How do they connect with you?
Absolutely. The pharmacy team is fabulous. They'll tell people that I'm a resource to them. We also speak with different physicians, and we receive referrals for some of the services that we provide. We are providers for CDPHP, so we can do medical counseling and communicate with the physician. Or a customer may just have a question about ingredients, how to read a label, and they'll just stop in and we can assist them with that as well.
And you also have a big sign up at the Slingerland's Price Chopper that has, see the dietitian. We have a dietitian. There's internal publicity about it.
Yeah. Exactly, we do. And we do a lot of work in the community as well to help our community members know that we are a resource for them.
Do people have to make an appointment to see you, or and what hours are you there?
We're typically there, full time. However, because we do so many community events, we encourage people to make an appointment just so that they don't plan a trip to the store and we're not there. We want to make sure that we can help them when it's convenient for them.
You said a few major issues, and I know the obesity, and you get these headlines in the paper. It's an epidemic in America, United States. People are overeating. Diabetes is also. I don't have the numbers. I'm a rabbi. I'm not. I read the headlines.
Sure.
But I just these are your two major patient concerns, or there's other things that people have to come to you to figure out what to do?
Absolutely. So 2/3 of all Americans are either overweight or obese.
Really?
So weight management is huge. And 1 in 3 have chronic diseases. So those chronic diseases are things like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. all of those have a nutritional link to them, and we can really help people prevent those through healthier eating or treat them through healthier eating, along with the pharmacology and their physician's advice and all that.
A lot of times I get patients that come to the pharmacy to pick up their diabetes medications or their cholesterol medications, blood pressure medications, and they ask me questions about the medications, and I can go ahead and counsel on lifestyle changes. But once they start to go towards food, a lot of times I will bring somebody over to Krista and say, we actually have an expert on it, and we can kind of do this holistic approach. We're right next door, so it's just like, let me walk you around and let's, really help you out all together.
It's interesting. I mean, I had personal things with a pharmacist also, they're helping me out. Where does the range come from where, you say, well, I think you can cut down on half your medicine, or, where is the limits where a pharmacist, like you say, is helpful? On the other hand, hey, you better see your doctor,
Yeah, obviously there's, a line that if somebody comes with a problem that's above our scope of practice, if there's something that's
above your pay grade, as they say.
Like they have a really severe burn or something, or an infection that you can tell that they have an infection, they need an antibiotic. That's somewhere that I'm going to refer them to the physician.
But you also don't want to contradict the physician when they prescribe something. That's it. You fill it. You don't go and say.
Well, it's not it. There's definitely times when I've seen. We get like a lot of Lyme disease in New York.
Really? Is that what it is?
Yeah, because there's a lot of ticks.
We had a governor who had Lyme disease.
Yeah.
George Pataki. Yeah.
A lot of tick bites, and there's different ways to treat that when you have just a tick bite prophylactically, and if you actually have Lyme disease, and if somebody comes to the counter, I've had a patient come and they just had prophylactic drugs prescribed to them because they just called the physician over the phone and got a prophylactic drug, and they showed me what they had, and they had a bullseye rash. They had the signs and symptoms of Lyme disease. And I said, you can't just take this prophylaxis. It's not an all or nothing. If the doctor prescribes it, it's right. I called, and of course they said, oh, well, of course, we're going to give them a longer course.
Yeah, I meant something more substantive, that the doctor saw them, wrote a prescription or sent in a prescription, and then, you filled it, and you wouldn't say, oh, well, this is, erythromycin. Oh, no, you shouldn't be taking this. You should be taking something else.
No, unless it's like there's an allergy or they're treating something that it's the wrong dosage or something. It's a interaction that pharmacists and doctors have all the time.
That's what my friend who's a pharmacist used, but you just like the interaction drugs. Maybe one doctor gives a drug, and then they see 5 different doctors about something else.
But you would call the doctor. You wouldn't go to the patient and contradict the doctor.
No, I would talk to the patient and say.
You would go to the doctor and you would talk to the doctor personally.
Absolutely.
And not get the patient in the middle.
Yeah.
Of that. Okay.
I wouldn't say your doctor doesn't know what they're doing.
That's exactly. Yeah.
My parents would be very upset.
Are you happy that, in the past, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years, there's been a trend to have prescriptions sent in, not by electronic.
Yeah.
Is that helpful? Is that better, that you don't have to worry about interpreting or doctors' handwriting?
It is and it isn't. It's great. Electronic prescriptions are great. The only downside I've seen is that if there is a mistake, it doesn't look like a mistake. So mistakes happen, but they're in black and white. They're in print. I can read the mistake perfectly, but it's still a mistake. A lot of times, electronic prescriptions have gotten a lot better over the past couple of years, but when they first came out, it was a lot of drop-down menus, and you can choose the wrong thing very easily. I had wrong patient, which it comes in, it's black and white, fill the prescription, and the patient would come in and it'd be a blood pressure medication, and they'd say, I don't have high blood pressure. Call the doctor, drop down menu, picked the wrong patient. So it was incorrect, but it doesn't seem like it's incorrect because I can read it very clearly.
It's not like an email that comes to you.
It is it's like
in that they write an email and they write all this down. It's a form, basically.
It is. Yeah, it depends. Now I think that this happened probably 4 or 5 years ago.
In the early days.
So now it's not quite as bad. I do see a lot of times like the directions don't match the medication because And, I'll call the doctor's office and they'll just say, well, that's our drop down and it doesn't match. It actually should say this. And so it's good and it's bad. I think they're improving electronic scripts. But I do think it's drop down menu a lot of places. I don't think every doctor's office has that, but I think a lot of them are just like drop down. You can choose which drug, which strength. And I think it's easy to make a mistake.
Is it possible that nutrition and healthy eating could do more, could be more helpful for an individual than taking medication? Like, for example, if someone has a chronic disease, and is getting tired of taking the same medicine for so many years, could they, could you possibly adjust their diet and then they would be totally off of a certain medication? I mean, are there
Those instances
like that?
certainly happen, absolutely. So preventative is huge for us. However, if somebody does come in, let's say they have diabetes, they're put on metformin as the first line, and then they're coming to us, they lose 5 to 10% of their weight, and they also learn how to manage their carbohydrate choices. They may potentially not need to continue that medication. They may be able to manage their diabetes through diet.
Do you have food on the table? Explain. I thought maybe you brought lunch for Mark and I. That was nice of you over here. Catered meal from Price Chopper. But, all right. But in any case, explain all the food on the table that people see.
You have canned corn
Yes.
and canned potatoes. Are canned vegetables better than fresh, or?
And that's a point. The reason why I brought them was I had a plan. So when I was choosing items, the first thing that I wanted to talk about is that, fruits and vegetables are so lacking in a lot of the diets of Americans. So, I happen to have corn and potatoes in my pantry, but we do also have, beets and broccoli and all those. It's really frozen or canned are great ways to get those nutrients in. Potatoes are such a great source of potassium. With busy families, you may not want to peel them or have the time to peel them. Here, you're able to incorporate those into the diet. Potassium is something that may help to actually lower blood pressure. So, bananas and
bananas
other
is
things
a
are
good
good
source of
sources as
potassium.
well. Exactly.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things that we may work with somebody who's looking to increase their potassium but doesn't have a lot of time to prepare food.
But isn't frozen better than canned? Isn't in terms of the nutrients being preserved?
Frozen is actually blanched and then frozen, so it does have a very high nutrient retention rate, but there's a lot of different methods that they use. It varies. I mean, it depends on how long the fresh produce has come, how long it's, how long it's been since it's been picked, or things like that. But when they're canning, they're essentially, it's not old produce that they're typically using, to my understanding, and it can be a great cost-effective way to get those good nutrients in.
And we should say that I think, aside from the meat side, but most of Price Chopper's products under their brand name is kosher. They have the kosher symbols on them, which is very important to the observant Jewish community.
Exactly, and you pointed that out right on, and even on our no salt added. So the ingredients in those products are corn and water and potatoes and water. That's it, no added sodium.
And what's gluten-free? I never knew what gluten was, let alone to be gluten-free. I mean, it was like,
I brought
gluten?
our newest gluten-free brochure. Gluten is it's commonly found in wheat products. It's a protein, and some people have a sensitivity to it if they have something called celiac disease. So it's a food intolerance. It can be diagnosed with a biopsy, but they can do a blood test to see if someone has celiac disease. And then if it's confirmed, they need to remove gluten from their diet. So the incidence has been increasing.
That's what I wanted to ask you. It's always, and I've asked many people, they didn't know, but maybe a dietitian. I mean, everybody knows that I'm 29 years old. But when I was a kid over here, I never heard of gluten-free. I mean, all of a sudden, and we have in our schools, peanut-free, this is a peanut-free zone. And I know people who are dairy, these are kids even. It's all right, an old person, they break apart. I'm just saying a senior citizen, your stomach, but these are kids, and I feel so bad. I never
lactose intolerant.
Yeah, I know. I never.
Yeah.
And people come over. I can't eat this, and I can't eat that, and I never.
Yeah.
I mean, why is that? I don't know. Is it more of a sensibility to?
Or or is it something that we just started looking for, so then we found
Yeah.
it?
Probably it.
Well, the scientists are really busy trying to figure out why so that we can prevent it from continuing. But there has been a huge increase in incidence, so there's a lot more people, whether we're diagnosing better or whether we're just putting it out
You
there.
think it's real or psycho?
It's
Oh, I
psychosomatic?
think it's definitely real.
The celiac
Definitely.
marker is, I mean, it's a
Yes.
real marker, and that
So-
is that's a
It is.
So
pretty
you said-
serious
You
disease
said
state.
gluten is a protein.
Yes,
So what's wrong with protein?
nothing.
Okay.
Just for people who have this
Cis-
inability.
celiac disease.
It's an autoimmune disease that will damage your intestinal lining and will cause a lot of issues.
It can
And-
damage the retina. It can
Yep.
continue to damage other organs too, and it's proven to, you know, they might not have known why these people were having retina disease and why they couldn't see because they didn't. You don't
No.
get sick from celiac. If you eat gluten, you're not going to feel that sick.
Right.
You don't know that your body's kind of fighting against it and fighting your own organs.
So when did they discover this protein, gluten protein?
That's a really good question. I don't know exactly when. I know that when I became a dietitian, we had a few people with some concerns about it, but it's certainly a huge, huge expansion in research as well as in patients looking for some
And they
assistance.
say diabetes is on the increase too. Is that? I mean, that's what's funny because on one hand, I always said, you know, and I surely bless the United States, you know, so everything's so abundant here, and you have so much, and you go into the Price Chopper and you got a full aisle. You see like fruits and vegetables. Oh, we're in Russia 200 years ago. We're in Siberia. There's not a fruit to be had. I mean, literally, that's in some countries. It was that way. It was not. I mean, I'm making a joke, but it really is, and in a lot of areas in the world.
Sure.
Here you go, Price Chopper. You got who's lacking for an orange and an apple and a fruit and a lettuce. And then you say, it's like funny, like people are starving to death. They're on a starvation diet. All these potato chips and soda. I mean, it's a
Exactly,
little bit funny over here. that-
Well,
Maybe it's advertisements, I don't know, they're pushing it. I mean, just saying that the food is there, and, you know, it's not that expensive. It's like people.
well,
It's personal choice for sure, and some people choose whether they feel that it's less expensive or what they feel. But you know, it's challenging. Some people desire sweets, and they choose to use those as the basis of their diet.
now you also have here Ronzoni pasta,
Yes.
but I don't know if it's spaghetti or linguine, but I think it's spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Oh, it's spaghetti. Okay.
It is spaghetti.
And
Mario.
what did you? You know, this is the white stuff. It's not the
What
whole
is
wheat.
my purpose, right? Why did I bring
Why
that?
did you bring this?
Why?
Because this
Why?
is so full of so many things that people shouldn't be
So
eating.
it's bad for you.
So the reason that I brought the Ronzoni particularly is we're always telling people to increase fiber in their diet because fiber is great for your GI health and all that. Also helpful if you do have diabetes. So the smart tip, well, when we go down the pasta aisle, we know pasta. It's so hard to manage half a cup of pasta.
Oh.
That's really difficult
Doesn't
to
even
eat.
pay to.
No, not at all. So for a lot of people. So now we have whole wheat pasta, but I have to say probably 75% of the men that I work with do not like the texture of whole wheat pasta. So this is a product where, believe it or not, it looks white, doesn't it? That's
Yeah.
the texture of it. However, it's got 2.5 times more fiber. So it's actually much more nutritious. Unfortunately, the portion conversation comes
Yeah.
in. But it's a way, again, to get more fiber into your diet without that texture
everything
change.
in moderation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the problem, especially that I have. I have a problem with portion control. And, you know, I just love to have my big bowl. I have the specialty where I make this big bowl of pasta, and I put mixed vegetables, or I put some vegetable in there, I put tomato sauce, I put cheese, and I mix it all together. And I just sit in front of the TV, and I just eat this huge bowl that people say could feed 4 people. You know?
Yeah, that's.
I can help you.
Let's just take this away from you.
Maybe we should have a kosher cooking class over here. That's what we should have.
So this is where we would typically just talk about how to make that, you know, a quarter of your plate instead of the base of your meal, the pasta, and then fill half your plate with your vegetables, and then put your cheese or your lean protein on the other quarter of your plate. can be that easy. Grab a smaller plate. Don't get that big bowl out, you know? So those are some of the strategies that will work with people
Well,
to
I
help
tried
make it
the
more
smaller
manageable.
bowl thing, and I always had something left over, so I'd go back for seconds
there
or
you
thirds. Whereas if I
You
just
put it
have a
right
big
away.
bowl, I just know I'm going to have one portion. It's just a
There
big
you
portion.
go, yeah.
See, I'm on the seafood diet. I see food and I eat it.
Yes. Yes, but for those who are interested in, you know, managing their health and making
Yeah.
those changes,
Right.
there's some really great behavioral suggestions that we can help with as well.
Okay, well,
and for those patients that have, you know, diabetes, where Krista can work with them on the diet side, I don't know if you guys knew that Price Chopper does a lot of stuff with diabetes. We have free diabetic medications and certain supplies that we offer for no charge, just to help people. It is hard, you know, to manage diabetes, and the more that we can offer that helps somebody out, the better. Because if they're not worried about their copay for their metformin, maybe they'll worry more about their portion size of their pasta.
Again, as you were talking about preventive,
Yeah.
you know, they say diabetes can be, that's something that can be very much prevented.
Depends on which, there's two types. So there's type 1 and type 2, and type 1 is genetic.
Really?
Type 2 a lot of times has to do with weight, but it's really based on
Eating too much sugar?
it's like basically your cells kind of give up on making the insulin that you need to digest. So it depends. It can be from eating too many sugars or too much in general. You have too many fat cells.
Too much, and that's it. The fat cells in your body, the more that you have, the more insulin resistant that you are.
Yeah.
And they say people with diabetes should be walking a lot more, not be sedentary.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
To be out there doing things that takes more than just eating right.
No, it's amazing. They
So-
actually, if I've watched a presentation on diabetic medications, and the first slide that the pharmacist presented was a slide of what medications can do versus what diet and exercise can do. And the diet and exercise was way up on the graph, where that can change your lifestyle, can change your insulin resistance. It can really change what happens to your body versus the medication is really just for management. And it's not going to cure, you know, your diabetic, you know, your diabetes. It's just going to help you maintain it.
You know about exercise? Because you know, I do exercise.
Yes.
You know, I'm a rabbi. Everybody knows the rabbi exercises at the Jewish Community Center. But, you know, you have different things. Like Mark was saying, walk, and other people,
Yeah.
rabbi, not enough. I go 3 times a week. But, I mean, again, what's the proper, I don't know, proper.
There's no
Yeah,
proper, it's just everyone's
it's very
individual.
dependent on the person and what their abilities are. You know, somebody might not be able to walk 3 times a week based on either their lifestyle, or they might not physically be able to do it. So it's starting slow and really working with an individual. Like, what can you do? Can you park further away at work? Or maybe you have stairs at
I
work.
park further away. My kids yell at me. What are you parking so far away from the? I says, "What are you, an old man? I'm the older guy over here."
You know what, I wanted to ask you,
Sure.
you brought in oranges and mango. Now, why? What was the, besides it being in your pantry?
Besides
But I was
being in
just-
my pantry and being on sale last week, I decided to bring, kind of a staple this time of year is definitely the citrus and the oranges and all that. So, again, just variety. So, if you go to the grocery store and you always buy oranges, grab a mango. Try something different. If there's a fruit or vegetable that you haven't tried, Price Chopper has these great cards that actually tell you how to choose it, how to prepare it. And of course, our produce department is fabulous at helping as well. So that's a way to incorporate more in. If you're traveling, you don't have your knife, you don't want to squirt the orange juice all over your office and make it smell wonderful.
Yeah, that's right.
You can grab something like dried fruit, like raisins. They don't add sugar on top of those. Again, a little more as far
And
as your calories.
it's not really bad sugar when you eat the fruit. Like you say, raisins are so sweet. It's like candy.
And this-
And it wouldn't bother your body for the sugar. I mean, it's not like eating candy. You know, like a raisin isn't a candy, even though it tastes the same way. I mean,
So candy gives you sugar. That's it. These give you natural sugar. They give you vitamins and minerals. That's the benefit. It's the natural sugars are linked with the antioxidants and the vitamins and the minerals and the fiber. You don't get that in candy. So it's just more nutrition for your calorie.
Now,
a different
alcohol.
You get the same
Now,
sweetness.
how does alcohol, vodka, scotch, how does that break down? Does it break down into sugar? Does it?
Listen, wine for kiddies, you have to put that, and
I
when you're
didn't want
forgetting
to-
wine for kiddies.
I didn't brush up on those.
Well,
But
and you don't know from person? No.
so alcohol kind of is a midpoint, whereas if you're looking at calories per gram, you've got any excess calories is going to get stored somewhere as fat in your body. If you take in, whether it's alcohol, sugar,
Right.
fruit, candy, any excess is going to store as fat.
But alcohol turns into sugar, doesn't it? To fat.
The calories, excess
calories.
calories. Alcohol still has calories,
Right.
and that's what some people kind of forget as well. They may think if they mix their vodka with a diet tonic or something, that it's still not going to contribute calories, but it does.
No, but when you have a vodka with orange juice, you got the sugar and you got the other sugar.
Then-
That's a lot. That's a screwdriver. You got a lot of sugar in the screwdriver.
In the vodka, the calories that come from that is the alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, beer, then you're getting some sugar from that. But in general, again, you want nutritious calories. Alcohol doesn't give you a ton of nutrition.
Sorry.
No,
So you group it with the candy
I'm
and the
fine.
things
I'm
that are.
fine with that. I
People
learned-
tell me they live on beer over here.
There you
They say,
go.
oh, you don't know, rabbi, it's malt, it's wheat. and-
their system can handle it. When their system can't handle it, a doctor will tell them and they will stop. You know, that's the way it is.
And it's that balance.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we're real people. We like to enjoy
Right.
life. We like to enjoy food. So the more positive changes you can make in your diet, the better you're going to feel. And your focus is to make it healthy.
Why is it that people with diabetes feel tired? What is it that is breaking down in their body that makes them feel so tired after they've eaten, let's say, more, or they've eaten maybe the wrong foods, let's say? Why do they have to, rest, take a nap? Does the body shut down?
If you're hyperglycemic, which means your blood sugar goes, really high, that's where you could have like the issues, or if it's undiagnosed, that excessive thirst and that,
Yeah.
tiredness and fatigue. And so potentially, I would say that if your blood sugar was high, if you had that hypoglycemia, that you may have some, not typical things happening. You're not going to feel your best. You may be tired. You may feel like you're using the bathroom all the time. You may be excessively thirsty.
Yeah, your body can't break down the sugars. So you're bringing in these sugars and your body just isn't breaking them down and turning them into energy, Like I would eat something with sugar and I'd probably get a little
But if someone's
hyped up.
feeling tired in the middle of the day, they shouldn't be automatically thinking that they have diabetes or that they should go to a doctor.
No, I mean,
No.
if, there's a lot of reasons that somebody's tired, and sometimes it's just like vitamin deficiency, vitamin D, if you're deficient, which a lot of us are in New York.
Iron is another. Iron is associated with fatigue as well. So
B12.
that- if you're consistently tired during the day, best bet, go to the doctor and they'll be able to assist you find what's wrong so you can treat it.
Krista, final message that you want the audience to know about? What is the takeaway from all this?
Just that we are a resource for the community, and if anyone is struggling and feeling like they need additional assistance, whether it's the one-on-one service that they want to go through their insurance, or if it's a question on how to read a label because they're confused, we're definitely there to help them, and we want to make our communities healthier.
And what's your point system that you have at Price Shop?
We have NuVal, our nutrition scoring system. So right on the shelf tag, there's a blue number, and the higher the number, the better the nutrition. It's that easy. It's all based on evidence-based science for improving someone's nutrition. The more nutrition per calorie. So
Okay. And Jessica, what's your takeaway on this?
Yeah, sort of like Krista, just to know that Price Chopper is there as sort of a holistic view for medicine and for health. We have the pharmacy, we have healthy foods, we have dietitian, and the pharmacy is there for all sorts of things. We have a lot of programs with the free diabetic medications. We do a lot of free antibiotics, pet medications. We do a lot of immunizations, different types for different communities. But yeah, we're there for the
Right.
community, and come to Slingerlands and you'll
now
find
we-
us.
So this show, we talked about all the things that you should eat. Maybe we'll have you back and we'll talk about all the things that are sold at Price Shop that you shouldn't be eating.
Oh no!
But anyhow, that's
It's
All right.
so
To-dum-bum,
true.
okay.
Everything in moderation,
Everything
right?
in moderation.
That's true.
Okay, well,
Well, we're out
thanks.
of time, but I think we're going to ask Jessica and Krista again back to check up on Mark to see if he's
Okay.
eating healthy. We give him another physical exam. In any case, thank you very much, and
Thank you.
hopefully our viewers become healthier people. We want to wish you a lot of health in everything you do, but because you're helping other people with their health, you should only have good things to happen to you too.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.